Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everybody is doing well out there. Recently, I did a live stream. I'm trying to do those every Sunday moving forward. I've done a couple of them here recently, but in the last live stream we did, I talked about, or very briefly, I talked about a Docker container called Monica. And Monica is basically like a CRM, a customer relationship management software that you can run in Docker. This is more of a personal relationship management software. So a bit more detailed in certain areas, a little less detailed in other areas, but definitely geared towards relationship management on a more personal level, that sort of thing. So in this video, I want to show you first what Monica looks like, how it works, that sort of thing. And then I'll show you not only how to install it, but then how to make it available to the internet or from the internet so that you can have access to it anywhere. So here we are on the Monica hub.docker.com. This is the official image for this relationship management system here. Like it says here, personal relationship manager there. Lots and lots of downloads available. Let's see. I don't know when if it says when it was last updated, but I'm going to assume fairly recently. Let's take a look over here in the tags. 2 days ago, so very recently updated. What you'll notice up here in these little tags up here is that it does support ARM, ARM64, x86 64. Lots of good information in here as far as what's available. And if you're ever not sure if a container is compatible with your device, you can always go to their hub.docker.com page and look for the tags link right there and see what OS and architecture it's compatible with. So if we jump over to the next tab that I've got opened up here, this is a demo instance that I've got up and running, and this is all demo content. I want to be very clear about that. All of the contacts and images and everything in here, I actually pulled from this site where they're talking about an Android emulator or something. But I found that there was a contacts.vcf file that I was able to download and then use for the sake of this video. So if we come back over here, you know what I will actually do is I'll come back to the right to there. I'll scroll all the way down. I'm going to reset my account and click OK. There we go. So now if I come back up to here, there's nothing in here, blank screen. So let's add our first contact. The way we're going to do that is we're just going to click that button, and then we can just fill in the information that we want to here, and then click submit and add somebody else, or just add this one and move on, whatever. But what I want to do here is actually import my contacts. So I'm going to import a vCard. And here is some information as far as what is supported, file size limits, things like that. What I'm going to do is click on select file, and then I'm going to do this contacts.vcf. I'm going to go ahead and upload that. And there we go. So it says that it uploaded 54 contacts. 52 were imported, 2 were skipped. You can view the report here, and it'll tell you what happened. Why unknown contact name, no first name. That's mandatory, so it skipped it. So that's something good to know. You have to put a first name in order for a contact to be accepted in the system here. So let's scroll back up to the top and go back to the home page, where now we can see basically up at the top, last consulted. I think that should be last contacted or communicated with or something. Below that, we've got events in the next 3 months. As far as reminders, that might be birthdays, anniversaries, debts owed, things like that. There's some really neat stuff in here. But that's what would be coming up in the next 3 months. Product changes, this would be related to the software itself. Recent calls, favorite notes, debts, like I mentioned a second ago, and tasks are just kind of a quick click away right there. We've got activities, gifts, contacts, all of this here. We can use the last consulted if we wanted to go to a specific contact right there, somebody we contacted recently, or we can click on contacts right up here. And then we can just scroll through and pick any of the contacts that we wanted to look at that point. Basically, here we can update our image for that person. We can update their contact information, first name, last name, middle initial, gender, description. So maybe just if you wanted to give some context about that person, you could then below that put in like their birth date, or the exact birth date if you know the month and the day, but not the year. You could just kind of check whatever you want to do here. And if for whatever reason that person may have died, you can check that and you can say when they died as well. So basically at that point, we can click save. And that would just be the contact information section of this. Below that, we've got the option to stay in touch. And you can, like it says here, we can remind you to, by email, to keep in touch with this person at a regular interval. So you could say, click this on and remind me every 3 days, click save. And now that data has been saved. So every 3 days or so, I should get an email saying, hey, don't forget to contact this person. Below that, we've got all kinds of great information over here. Relationships, you can actually say, hey, they're in a relationship with somebody else in my contact list. Select who that is. And you could say that's their significant other, their spouse, like all kinds of really good information here as far as how they're connected. I really do dig that they've got that as an option. I'm just going to give that like so. And then apparently you can have multiple love relations, which makes sense. If you wanted to, in this case, again, add an existing contact and say that Caleb here is, their brother, and you can click that. And then you can kind of see, love relationships, family relationships, other kinds of relationships. You can go in here. Again, whether you want to add somebody randomly or select somebody else and say it's their friend or it's their colleague or boss, or let's say colleague, and click save. So then you can start kind of building this web of how people are connected and how they may know each other, that sort of thing. If you wanted to remember their pets, you could do that. Contact information, both email and phone. Let's go ahead and click on that. You could add more of those, whether it's phone, email, phone, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Telegram, LinkedIn. Contact type. It looks like you can go in here and kind of configure new gender types, contact fields, all kinds of different things. You can add additional things in here to really customize this to do what you want to do with it, and really make it your own own little application here on how you want to keep in touch with people, that sort of thing. You can turn certain things on and off, so that's pretty cool. If you don't want to have certain things in here, you can edit them or delete them. They've really made this really super customizable. They've done a really good job as far as all of that's concerned. Below that, if we come back to this contact, we've got an address there. So if I click that, it's actually going to take me to Google Maps and show me exactly on the map where they live. Of course, if that was a real address, it would work better. And then below that, you can have how we met. So if we click on that, there we can put in a paragraph, who in your contacts may have introduced you to that person, the exact date when you met. You might want to celebrate an anniversary of when you met. If you wanted to do that, click save. So how you met through Caleb here. Work information, you can update that. Food preferences, if you've got a friend, you want to remember that they're vegan, vegetarian, allergic to peanuts, whatever, you can add that as well. And that's just the left-hand column here. Like, they've done such a good job of building this out the way they have. You can add new life events, photos. It looks like there's just the one photo in here, of course, but you could upload more photos if you wanted to do that. Notes and reminders. There we go. So you can add a note, conversations. You could log conversations here, whether it's via social media, email, text messages, whatever, recent phone calls. You could log a phone call here, say when it happened, who initiated the call, what was talked about, how it made you feel, if you wanted to include that. And of course, like it says here, we support Markdown to add bold, italics, lists, and more. There's documentation on how to do that. So activities, what you may have done, where you've gone. If you wanted to add an activity, what did you do? Add more details, add emotions. Like, they've just done a really cool job as far as all of this is concerned. Do you want to get a reminder about calling, emailing, something like that? Do you want it to be once or repeated? So again, really cool stuff in my opinion here. And of course, this again is just one contact. Of course, you would have, you could have 10 contacts, 100 contacts, whatever. So if we come back to contacts, here's this. Of course, right up here, you can add more. There's a journal feature in here. So you can, if you wanted to say, I had a good day, and then talk about it, and then click save. This was a good day. And click save. Just like that. And here you can see how that particular day went, if you want to keep track of how your days are going, that sort of thing. I know a lot of people are really interested in that, to see if there's any kind of trends with their moods or things like that. This would be a kind of a cool way to do that as well. If we come over here to the settings, again, there's a ton of stuff in here for like personalization. Again, we kind of covered this a minute ago as far as, gender types, if you wanted to add more or remove any of those, modify them. Again, contact field types, lots of really cool stuff in here that you could add, delete, modify, whatever, to really customize the system to be yours. Storage, come over to here. Here we can see literally how much data each contact is using, when they were added or updated, that sort of thing is all in here. You could export this data for later if you wanted to export a SQL file. You could then, of course, if you wanted to, if you needed to, whatever reason, move to a different server, export that and then re-import it into your new instance. You could do that, I believe, maybe not. Upload contacts, that's weird. Export data. Import data. Maybe I missed something when I was looking at that earlier. Huh. Well, maybe that import data isn't what I thought it was. Users, you could have multiple users here to have access to this account. Tag management, you could add tags, whether it's friends or family or whatever it looks like. There's an API. If you wanted to write up your own API stuff for whatever reason, you could do that. Dev resources for calendars and things like that. Contacts, audit logs, just to see who did what. And then security, you could change your password. Two-factor authentication, you can enable that. You could, whether it's through a mobile application or it looks like a security key, you can enable that as well for some additional security. So that's kind of a quick run through. I don't know how quick that really was, probably 10 minutes, but that's a run through of Monica. So now let's take a look at how to actually deploy Monica, both for local as well as web-based use. So what we're going to do is we're just going to close some of this stuff. Right here is the stack that I made. You could export this as a Docker compose.yml file and deploy it via CLI. We're going to do everything through stacks though. So what I'm going to do is actually just come right over to here. You can see I've got this stack up and running. But what I want to do is actually just delete this entirely because I don't have any good data in there anyway. So we're going to go ahead and delete that. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to come back to here and remove and say remove. And then we'll click on add a stack and we'll paste that in like so. And there we go. So basically all you're going to do is just copy and paste from this over here. And then you're going to get this. And then we'll kind of run through this. So that's a version 2 stack. The services, we're actually going to have 2 services. One will be the application. The other will be the database. The app image here is Monica. It depends on the database. Of course, that's our host down here. The port is set to 8485. You could, of course, change that to be, basically whatever you wanted it to be. As long as you don't mess with the second half of this, you can change that to whatever. Below that, we've got an app key. So basically what this is it's an app key. So it needs to be 32 characters, and it can't have any special characters in it from my experience. It just doesn't work in order for that to deploy correctly. And honestly, what I did in order to make this work is I went to my password manager. I went to generator. I selected 32 characters. I said, don't give me any special characters. Just copy that, paste that in there, and you're good to go. That's just the easiest way, in my opinion, to do that. Below that, we've got the database host, and that's just going to be DB. Again, we're pulling that from the second service that's down here. The volumes, you'll want to map this volume to wherever you map or wherever you store your configuration files for your applications. For the sake of this, because I don't want there to be any chance of any data that was there getting pulled back in, I'm going to switch this from Monica 2 to Monica 3 just for a clean folder there. And then you don't have to mess with any of that. We've got restart always. That's always a good one to have in there. Below that, we've got our second service. That's going to be the database. And we're using the MySQL 5.7 image for that. The root password, we're just going to say, let that be random. We don't care what that is. The MySQL database is going to be Monica. I'm going to change that to Monica 2. The MySQL user is Homestead, and the password is secret. I encourage you to change the password if nothing else. Below that, we've got a volume for the database. So wherever you want to mount your database files, again, I'm going to change that to 3. And then below that, restart always. So now that we've got all of this set up and ready to go, all we've got to do is come down here and click on Deploy the Stack. This will probably go pretty quickly since I've already downloaded the images. In fact, if we come over to here and open this up, we can take a look at the MySQL image is about 450 megs, and then the Monica image is about 700 megs. So gig and a half to download and deploy as far as that's concerned. So we can come back over here to Monica. Let's pop this open, make sure everything here is, so right now it's installing and setting up the database. So we're just going to give that a minute to do what it needs to do. And then once it's done, we should be able to come back and jump into the application in our browser. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click on Deploy the Stack like so. And then we'll pop this up and take a look here. Okay, so it's doing its thing here. This is, of course, the database. So it's looks like it's filling up the database right here. Give this another minute to do what it needs to do. And then we'll come back over to here and see if we can pop that open. Not quite yet. All right, so there we go. That's how I kind of like to see what's going on when there's a high CPU usage and then it kind of tails off. That's usually a pretty good indicator that things are wrapped up and ready to go. So right now we're going to create an account. This will be david@dbtechreviews.com. And we'll go ahead and register just like so. And now you're ready to go back and add your first contact like we did already. Now look, this is only available on my local network here. So in order to change that and make it accessible from the internet, there's a few things we'll need to do. And the first thing, of course, you'll need a domain name. I like to get all my domain names from Porkbun. I also run all of my DNS through Cloudflare for a couple of reasons. One, it hides my IP address, so even if somebody does ping, finds one of my domain names and pings it, they won't get my home IP address. They'll get a Cloudflare IP address. So that's one of the reasons I like to use it. Also, they support or they give out free SSLs. So we're going to do that as well. So the next thing we'll want to do is jump over to Cloudflare, set up a subdomain for this, and then also go over to Nginx proxy manager and set one up there as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go over to Cloudflare. Okay, so here we are. We've got my dnb.wtf domain name here. Got my IP address hidden so you can't see that. What I want to do here is set up a new record. I want it to point to the same IP address as this URL. So what I'm going to do is just set up a CNAME, and I'm going to call this PRM for Personal Relationship Manager, and I'm going to do @. So it'll be prm.dnb.wtf. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that like so, and I want to switch this to be DNS only and click Save. So now we've got that set up and ready to go. So what I'll do is I'll go over to there so that I've got my proxy stuff all set up here through Nginx Proxy Manager. So what I want to do is add a proxy host. My domain name, I'm just going to paste that in there like so. I'm going to say HTTP is the scheme and 192.168.1.40. And then whatever port I put that on was 8485. I may run into a bit of a problem here. Go ahead and do that. We'll do SSL like so. All right, so then let's find the one from today. Today is April 12th, so it's going to be this one right here, I believe. That's the one. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it broke. So there's actually a trick to that, and if we come back over to here, there's actually a solution for it somewhere right here. We actually need to change the container for the application and just add this line to it. So what I'll do, I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go back to Portainer. I'm going to go to my containers. I'm going to open up the app right here. I'm going to click on duplicate and edit. I'm going to scroll down to environmental variables. I'm going to add a variable there. I'm going to paste that in there. And then just to make sure I don't fat finger anything, like so, I'm going to come into here and press that. So that should be good to go. Then we'll scroll back up and click on deploy the container and say replace. Okay, so that took a little while, but we should be good to go now. So now, if I come over to here and I hit refresh, we'll have to give that a minute to come back up. It looks like, let's open this up. That should be, there it goes. So now we can get logged back in here. Here up at the top, you can see I'm on a URL. I've got a security certificate there. In fact, if I open that up, we can see that it was issued by R3. That's actually the Let's Encrypt SSL. If we want to come back over to here, in fact, we should. We'll want to switch this over to proxied, like so. That way, it will hide our IP address as well as use the Cloudflare SSL for this setup. But anyway, now we can, like so, and right now we're right back to where we started, where we can import our contacts and do that sort of thing. So that's how to set up Monica. That's how to kind of go through and use Monica as well. I really do dig this. This is something that I will be adding to my regular server so that I've got it available so I can keep track of relationships and things like that a bit better than, say, like Facebook helps me do. So if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up, really would help quite a bit. Also, if you're interested in this kind of content where I talk about Docker containers and how to host them and set them up and configure them, make them accessible from the internet, that sort of thing, definitely get subscribed. I try to do these videos at least a couple of times a week, and I've been trying to add live streams to the mix at least once a week as well. All of the resources that you'll need in order to do this will be available in the description down below. Also, while you're down there are a couple of different ways that you can support the channel if you want to do that. Speaking of which, I want to give a big shout out to my channel members and my patrons. You guys rock. Thank you so much for the constant support. I really do appreciate it. And again, if you want to do any of that stuff, it'll be available in the description down below as well. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. As always, thanks for your time. I always appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you in the next video.